What's up? Tyler from Plugged On. I'm here with a concert review. This time, I'm going to be talking about Exodus, Obituary, Power Trip at the Baltimore Soundstage in Baltimore, Maryland. This is the Battle of the Bays tour. I think this tour is fucking incredible, and it was a fantastic show. 3 awesome bands, all in the same bill, and they're similar, but they're not at the same time. There's supposed to be another opening band, Dust Bowl. Fortunately, because of all the hurricanes that have been happening and hitting the southern end of the United States, their flights were canceled, so they have to miss the first 4 shows of the tour, so that sucks. Anyways, so Power Trip opened. Power Trip, to me, is one of the best thrash metal bands out there today. Just one of the best metal bands, period. Their new album, Nightmare Logic, is an album that I loved when it came out, but has grown and grown and grown on me as the years went on. It's an album I constantly keep coming back to. And they played a lot off of their new album. They just put on an incredible set, period. This is my second time seeing them. The first time I saw them, they opened for Lamb of God, Anthrax, and Death Heaven. So they played Executioner's Tax, Nightmare Logic, Firing Squad, Murderer's Row, Crucifixation. Then they played like Conditioned to Death, Manifest Decimation, of course. And they opened with Soul Sacrifice. They had an incredible set, and to me, it's highlighted by a few things. One, their energy. They absolutely have incredible energy up on the stage, and really, they feed off the crowd, and the crowd feeds off of them. Absolutely, they had the crowd fucking going, and I think this band is going to really be catching on. They're getting on a lot of big tours. I think, this is a huge tour for them. That Lamb of God tour was huge for them. They're going to be going on the road with Cannibal Corpse as well. These are great tours for Power Trip, and I think they will definitely be catching on because, to me, it's a band you gotta see live. And once you see them live, you get it, and you're instantly like, I need to check out this band's stuff, and you go stream around, buy merch, do whatever you want. The first time I saw them, I ended up buying their debut album, like right there. I'm like, I've never heard of these guys, but I was so fucking impressed. I bought the album, and then, of course, I've been a fan from there. I just think this band is incredible. Also, their mix live was fucking flawless. It was so crisp, it was clear, but it was loud, but it wasn't too loud. It didn't sound like a big, gigantic wall of fucking sound. The vocals were perfect. Everything was great about the sound of their set, in my opinion. And it was awesome. At first, I was a little worried when I got to the show because they said doors were at 7, and the place was like not even a quarter of the way filled, and I'm like, uh-oh. Or no, it said doors were at 6, shows at 7 on the ticket, and I was like, uh-oh. But turns out the show didn't start till later, and as Power Trip's set went on, the place got more and more packed, and it looked like it was a pretty well attended show at that point. So it was good that more and more people got to see them as their set went on, and definitely as they went on in their set, more people got into it. The pits got bigger. It was a great set. I loved it. I love seeing Power Trip live. I feel like they're a band that I could see all the time live. So definitely check, if you're interested, this tour's coming around, you're interested in the rest of the bands too, go check out Power Trip. Like I said, they're going on the road with Cannibal Corpse as well. So keep an eye out for them if you want to see them live, because you have plenty of chances. Next up was Obituary. We've talked about Obituary a few times on here in terms of a live setting. They are fantastic live, and this set was no different. It's probably one of my favorite Obituary shows. Not that they really played a lot of different songs, but they played just so well, and they had a very nice crowd, and it just, you could tell all night that the bands and the crowd just kept feeding off of each other, and it was just this fun, but chaotic atmosphere. And shows, metal shows like that, thrash shows, death metal, whatever, are always great when it's like, it's a safe but fun environment, but it's also just completely fucking chaotic, like you would expect at a show like that. It always seems like thrash shows, at least the ones I attend, always end up being that, They're always just extremely fun to go to. But Obituary, they were fantastic. They played some new tracks. They played Brave. A Lesson in Vengeance, I think, is probably the song off of their new album that goes over the best, in my opinion, just because that riff is just so groovy and just a very head-banging riff. It's great. They played Turn to Stone, which was awesome. I like their new album a lot. I think those songs go over well live. People get into them. So I hope, as they get further and further away from this album, maybe progress to a new album, that they still play some of these songs. Because the only one they play off of Inked in Blood is Visions in My Head, which is the most popular track off of that, and that song fucking kills live. But I think there's other really good songs on there too. But they also played some classics: Chopped in Half, Turned Inside Out, Dying, Don't Care, Slowly We Rot. Just the classic Obituary songs from those first two records that are just fucking incredible death metal albums. I loved hearing Chopped in Half live. I think it's one of my favorite death metal songs to hear live. Just every time it starts and he's like, chopped in half, and it's like, yeah, it's awesome. And it's so heavy, and there's something kind of like aggravating about their sound and their guitar tones and everything that just kind of gets you like fired up, and it's awesome. I love seeing Obituary live. They're just a very raw, here it is sort of thing live. They don't say a lot, and there's nothing wrong with that. They just get up there, they fucking play riffs, and they assault your face with the riffs, and it's great. I thought their mix was very well done too. I thought they were loud but not too loud, and very clear, in my opinion. So next up was Exodus. I haven't seen Exodus in fucking 4 years. I think it was the Metal Alliance 2013 tour, I think, where it was Anthrax and they played Among the Living in its entirety, and it was Exodus, Shadows Fall, Holy Grail. That's where I first discovered Holy Grail. Municipal Waste. That was a fantastic show. So I haven't seen Exodus in a long time, so you have Obituary, awesome. Saw them recently on the Decibel tour. They were great there. They're kind of a bonus here. I really want to see Power Trip just because of how much they have grown on me, but I'm like, Exodus, I haven't seen them in such a long time too. So awesome, I thought their set was good, but I'll be 100% honest with you, it was my least favorite of the night. And it's that for a few reasons. Well, mostly just one reason, actually. I'm just pulling something up here, I'm sorry. What they did play, it was kind of a greatest hits Exodus set. They didn't really play, the only song they played off of Blood In, Blood Out is the title track, which, that's a fantastic song. Blood In, Blood Out, at this point, is, 3 years old? 2014? So, understandable that they won't be getting out there and playing a lot of those songs off of that album. That's one of my favorite Exodus albums. I feel it's right up there with like Fabulous Disaster and Bonded by Blood. It's in Tempo of the Damned. Like it's a fucking incredible album, So I wish they would have played maybe one or two more songs off of it, just because I never heard anything off of that album. So that's just me being a little bit selfish there. But other than that, they didn't really play a whole lot of like modern Exodus stuff. So they played Blood In, Blood Out. They opened with the Ballad of Leonard and Charles from Exhibit B, and they played Iconoclasm off of Exhibit A. So they played those songs, and then from there on out, it was just kind of old school Exodus songs. And I mean, those are probably the highlights off of those three albums, anyways. So they were fantastic to hear. But then they played, and then there were none. They played A Lesson in Violence, Bonded by Blood, Strike of the Beast, of course, Toxic Waltz, Deranged as well. That was awesome to hear off of Pleasures of the Flesh. That's a great, underrated album, in my opinion. Underrated thrash album. Those were great, and then they played Blacklist and War Is My Shepherd off of Tempo of the Damned, which I fucking love. Blacklist. War Is My Shepherd's great too. Blacklist is just so fucking heavy, especially the first time the whole band busts in when the main riff gets going. It's like, fuck, this is so heavy, and it was great to hear that live. But, you know, Exodus, they played a great set. I feel their actual playing was great. In my opinion, it was their mix that was just, in their overall sound, that was just a little off. It sounded a little too, and this is just my ears. Your ears could be totally fucking different. But to me, everything was a little too muddled, and I would have loved for the guitars and the drums to be turned down a little bit and to have Steve have a little bit more vocals, because I felt like he was a little bit hard to hear at times, and the guitars were just a little bit too loud and not as clear as, say, Obituary or Power Trip to me. And at times, you know, take Iconoclasm when it, or War Is My Shepherd, when those songs just get really, really fast and the drum beat is very intense. It just sounds like a fucking wall of sound, and it's like, I don't know what's happening. You know, of course, I know the song, so I know how the riff's going, but if I didn't know, it would just be like, and it's like, that just kind of sucks. And it to me, it just took me out of the set. And it was a little bit hard to get into it compared to Obituary or Power Trip. That's just my opinion, of course. Like I said, if you attend this show, if you attend other Exodus shows or on this tour or whatever, and that's how they sound, that's great. You know, there is an aspect to that that's like, this just sounds fucking mean. They're loud. They sound real fat, thick, and it's awesome and it's heavy. It's just mostly when they really, really got fast and the drum beats were way quicker on the snare and everything, that it just sounded like a little bit just too much. And like I said, I wish those things would have been turned down and Steve would have been bumped up just a little bit. That's all I was thinking there, and I'm like, otherwise they were great. I haven't seen Exodus with Steve Salza back on the vocals, and I think he's a great frontman. He sounds great. He even sounds great doing the non-Steve stuff. But, you know, hearing his voice live, doing those classic songs, it's fucking incredible. And he just sounds great live. I actually think he might sound better live than on an album. You know, he just sounds mean and in your face. And actually, you know, they had great mosh pits the whole night, but I swear, as they got towards the end of their set, the pits got bigger and bigger and bigger, and it almost, by the time Strike of the Beast went, they did kind of wall death thing, and by the time that song was over, like, the pit was basically almost the entire floor. It was the absolute biggest mosh pit I've seen at the Soundstage, and I've been there a lot, so I've seen a lot of pits there, but I was like, holy shit, like, I couldn't believe it. I think the band was actually like, holy shit, like, this pit is huge for this place. It was awesome to see, you know. Like, I was kind of towards the back and, you know, more of a safe spot. I'm not a mosher. I like watching the band and doing that stuff. But I was nearly in the fucking mosh pit. It was so huge. But yeah, this is a fantastic tour. If you're a fan of any of these bands, go to this tour. Brass shows are just the best fucking shows. And I know Obituary's death metal, but I think, you know, they bleed over. And I think both, you know, all these bands, while Exodus is more like one of the original thrash bands, 80s style, and then, you know, they have a much different sound now than when they started. But Power Trip is kind of like an embodiment of the 80s sound, but with a new attitude and edge to it. Obituary's old school Florida death metal, but all these bands have something in common too at the same time, and it's awesome. It's a great fucking tour, so go check it out. Exodus, Obituary, Power Trip, check out all those bands too. So, yeah. Let me know what you think if you're attending this tour. Thanks for watching. See you later.